Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Welcome back, guys. So, for this week, we will be covering a classic, A Deep Blue Sea.
Yes. There for a while, after Jaws, of course, I feel like this was a very iconic movie, and definitely one of the more prevalent shark movies, until probably The Meg.
Yeah.
Well, and 47 Meters Down, I suppose. Kind of went in order.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember being not quite a teenager, I guess preteens, and this being a really big movie that a lot of people talked about.
With the big name actors, and at the time, it was decent CG. At the time, it's kind of sad to look at now. A little bit.
But we will give more details about that after tea. So, today I am drinking I forgot the brand. That's terrible. But the blueberry hibiscus.
Isn't it Tazo? I thought it was the Passion.
That's not what I'm drinking. It's, Rishi.
Okay. You know your tea's better than I do. This is your stash?
Yeah, I grabbed a different box. It was the very last one. Sorry.
I see.
Sorry.
I see. You pulled a fast one on me. So yet again, I've dipped into her stash. And I am drinking... What the hell am I drinking? Traditional medicinals turmeric tea with ginger and meadowsweet, I think, was the other thing. I'm pretty sure it was
I thought it was just turmeric, but...
Well, the others are supposed to be like sub-notes.
Oh.
Okay. So, it's your tea.
I didn't know. I just see turmeric, and so I just believe that's all that's in there. It
does smell heavily of turmeric, too.
It punches you in the face.
Strongly of turmeric.
Like, if you have inflammation issues...
This is the one to grab.
Yep.
Found it.
Yep. But, So, Deep Blue Sea. The scientists are trying to figure out the cure for Alzheimer's, and they're studying sharks. And in order for them to have the sharks make enough protein for the cure, they don't really explain what the protein does, but it has something to do with curing Alzheimer's.
It's supposed to regenerate the neurons.
Okay.
And it brings them back to life, basically.
Okay.
So it makes them fire again.
But in order for them to get more of those proteins, they had to make the sharks' brains larger, which in consequence made them smarter.
Because they couldn't just get more sharks. No. They had to make the sharks that they had have bigger brains.
Yep. So with a multitude of different events, the facility is collapsing, and so the sharks are coming in, causing the people to flood more and more areas as they come up. And then at the very end, they're like, oh, the sharks were using us to flood the facility because the fence is only 8 feet high, and so the sharks want to try and be free. So yeah, Deep Blue Sea. So for entertainment, I will say back in the day, it was just like yours, Jess. It's like Jaws 2, and then like Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
But nowadays, it really wouldn't be my top pick anymore. But it's still a pretty solid movie.
It is.
So
entertainment-wise, definitely.
Yeah. So for me, it's a 7. They do have a lot of interesting scenes that I wonder if it's supposed to be an homage to Jaws, like the mako shark that was loose in the very beginning and was attacking the boat. is just like very, I think they're demonstrating that the shark was smarter than other sharks, but I think also I could totally see that happening in Jaws.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so I think it was kind of a,
Well, the Jaws did have a couple of scenes where the shark attacked a boat.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But, and this, a very big strong point for this movie is they have very strong and varied characters.
yes.
They're pretty memorable for the most part. There's two characters that are kind of forgettable, but they're also one of the first to die. So, Samuel L. Jackson. That that right there is the point in itself.
Iconic scene.
Yes,
Super iconic scene.
it's like people that haven't even seen the movie know about that scene.
Yes. Most of them. Most of them do.
Yes.
We know someone who doesn't. But
and then also another point I put, it's in addition to Samuel L. Jackson, there's a bird named Bird that cusses a lot.
it's great. So those with children, there is a lot of cursing
yeah,
from a bird.
well, also just I mean, it's not too gory of a movie, but with the type of gore, it
There's
would
a
be
lot
like
of
an older kid.
Yeah.
Like minimum 13,
Yeah.
I'd say. But
I'd say maybe 10. It depends on how mature they are.
okay. But but the movie is actually PG-13, I believe. But anyways, one I can't talk.
It's getting late.
Yeah,
guys.
I'm ready. I'm going to bed after this, guy.
We specifically chose decaffeinated teas for this episode because it's so late.
Yeah. But so a very huge strong point to this movie is like the previous we recorded Open Cage 3, and that movie was very frustrating, but this one, it's like frustrating tension. Like the tension in this movie is very good. It feels very urgent because not only do they have to worry about the sharks, but the facility is collapsing. Like it is actively collapsing
And flooding.
and flooding while they're going up. And the parallels to this movie are pretty interesting too, to where the new Planet of the Apes series, which I forgot the first one, I know is way after Deep Blue Sea, but it's very similar situations where it's animals that were experimented on for a cure for Alzheimer's, and then they became smart, and then they pretty much want revenge of some sort. And also, though, it reminded me a lot of Jurassic Park. And whenever I was kind of searching about it, they're saying that Jurassic World, I mean, Indominus Rex.
Yeah.
Got that. I'm like, man, the parallels just keep popping up.
I mean, that's kind of what happens when you mess with the brain.
Yeah.
If you enlarge the brain, then you're probably gonna make it smarter.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But overall, this movie, like the effects are pretty good in this movie. The CG, as just mentioned before, is pretty dated at this point, but the animatronics
were
are
great.
spot on. Like there's one particular part whenever the doctor is like quote unquote, well, not purposely sacrificing herself.
She was trying to distract the shark.
Yeah. But whenever it comes up, you can tell it's definitely an animatronic, but that animatronic looks genuinely scary.
Oh, yes.
Like that's why this movie, I do consider it a horror movie. Like even though it has a lot of action scenes, just the look of the sharks, like mako sharks, they're scary animals. They look really scary. Yeah.
Yeah. They almost made them, because they're so intelligent though, they almost made them like a 80s movie serial killer type.
Yeah.
Stalk and kill.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
when a shark grabs a gurney with a man on it and throws it into the window with everyone watching.
Yeah, it's pretty out there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Pretty out there.
It's like, hey, look what we did to your friend. We're coming for you guys next.
Yeah, I don't.
And then when it lifts the girl up in the
Yeah.
the maintenance shaft.
Yeah. It just, no.
Got this one.
Yeah. Especially since it pulled her out and then deliberately
Yes.
then pushed her up.
Uh-huh.
It's like,
For
no.
no reason. There was no reason to breach then.
Yeah. And plus, should have looked this up. I don't think Mako is breach. I'm pretty sure
I
that
don't think they do.
it's pretty isolated to great whites, though I could be wrong. I think other sharks you can see whenever they attack go out of the water, but it's not to breach. It's just they just so happen to while they're
Yeah.
attacking the thing go out. But great white sharks, I
don't
think, are the only
purposely,
ones that they start at the bottom and then rocket up.
We started from the bottom, now we're here.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So you give it a 7?
Yep.
With nostalgia glasses, I would give it a 7, but I just can't bring myself to do it. It has been long enough since I've seen this movie that I was able to dispel some of the nostalgia glasses. As great as some of the scenes are, Samuel L. Jackson
And Bird.
and Bird, I can't bring myself to give it that full 7, so I'm going to give it a 6.5. I do still want to watch this movie in the future. I will still go back to it. It's no longer one of the first ones that I grab. Jaws will forever be the first shark movie that I grab for. Forever. Jaws 2 is typically the second because I usually like to watch them together. But lately, it would have to be the Meg after that. Then probably this one.
Yeah.
So.
The Meg is just a fun movie, and
It really is. It's not realistic, but it's fun.
Yeah,
really
and it's like
fun.
Deep Blue Sea is more of a tension movie, and then plus like the kills, I don't know if it has the same effect on you, but like kills for me just seem so like sad, and they just make them so like spurts of blood all over the.
Well,
it's not as pleasant.
Consider the time period. Things have come a long way.
What do you mean? I'm not talking about the effects. I'm just saying how it makes me feel.
Okay, well, I was talking effects.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the effects. I'm saying that like they have like not terrible. They have like dramatic music. I don't know. It
tries to tug on your heartstrings for sure.
Yeah.
I just don't have many of them left. So so it doesn't really tug on my heartstrings. I was a little sad about Burb.
should have been the main character. Should have let Bird live.
Should have been the girl. No, but I have to give it a 6.5. I do still love this movie, but especially with the effects and everything, it is very dated now. So it's just not quite up there yet, and it's not quite as... It's hard to think of the right word. It doesn't have the same feel as Jaws. It's not as timeless.
Yeah, like Jaws is a timeless movie, just the way that the characters feel, the way that they filmed it, and how they're not constantly showing the shark. But
And
with
their
Deep Blue Sea, yeah, it's like the major two things that super dates Deep Blue Sea. First, the CG of the sharks. Animatronics great. That's why animatronics should just stick with us because it really does help a movie.
It really does. It's far more realistic. You can actually see the differences between the two.
Yeah.
And it just makes it so much better, so much more real.
Yeah. But the second reason is the technology. They're over here being like, this is a super high-tech facility, but it's obviously not. I mean, they're using floppy disks.
Floppy.
And I understand it was a product of the time, but...
It was in like 98, I think.
Yeah, it's like whenever you watch a movie that's trying to be state-of-the-art or futuristic, that always dates it. Always. Every single time.
CRT monitors. 3.5 floppy A disk drives.
Yeah, it's like even whenever it's like watching Star Trek or any of the other like sci-fi stuff, you can tell when it's a super old movie because the tech that they're trying to either like flash as like, ooh, it's old, state of the art, or be like, oh, this is the future. You're like, you are way off.
Every time you move, your tea sloshes, and I'm just waiting for you to spill it on yourself.
Yeah, that it would spill in an area that is sensitive, so nope, thank you.
Yeah.
Nope.
It'd be hilarious for those that watch the video version of our podcast, but
oh, I'm sure. But yeah,
I'd warn you just in case.
I saw your face of like concern as I was talking.
Well, it just kept getting closer and closer to the rim. Just that's the problem. This is the problem. So, but it's very, very dated. The interactions weren't quite there for me, and a lot of the realism issues that I have just bring down the entertainment. I do like that the sense of urgency isn't just forced dramatics.
Yeah.
Like there's an actual reason why they have a very limited time and need to get to the surface ASAP.
Yeah, like the setup is solid.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a storm, so everything's swelling up. There's turbulent seas, and they had a lot of issues with the sharks and everything. They're a little too smart. Shocker. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And then with when they break the glass, which we'll get to again later, it floods that whole area, which adds several hundreds of thousands of pounds of pressure and force, and that's just way too many tons of water. That's just too much weight in the facility.
I have a thought for the realism skill whenever
we'll get there.
That. Yep,
we'll get there.
Just my brain just
yep. We'll get there. So just it couldn't hold. So with it flooding, and the things flood fast in the ocean, there's a very real time limit. So it's more organic for the suspense aspect, which is nice, but it just doesn't feel the same. I think part of the issue that I have with the entertainment is because they're so engineered. They've been modified too much.
Yeah. It's like the sci-fi originals or the B movies where they're like, oh, it's this kind of special shark.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's a demon shark or some crazy.
It's a robot shark.
Yeah.
So it's just not the same feel. Sharks in and of themselves are very powerful creatures, ones that we definitely need to respect, but use that natural aspect of it, the natural predator aspect. You don't necessarily need modified sharks to up the ante.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from on that. But it's like, I do feel like Deep Blue Sea added a lot more interest in the shark genre and really caused a fraction of a whole bunch of movies that were kind of a similar idea.
Yeah. So I do also appreciate, though, that Preach, when he first sees the shark, he gets out of the line of sight, and then he grabs a weapon.
Yeah.
He's not some idiot that just hides behind something and prays the thing goes away. He actually grabs something to defend himself. And it's not something stupid either. It's not like a wooden spoon or a sign or something. It's a freaking frying pan.
Yeah, it's like the characters overall aren't too stupid, except for Samuel L. Jackson, who was way too close to the water. I don't care how safe you are. No. And then the girl slipping. But I mean, that could have potentially happened to anyone. Whenever the ladder falls.
That would have happened to anyone.
Yeah.
It came out of the wall.
Yeah.
So it could have happened to literally any one of them. And she was probably the one that weighed the least. So if either of the other two guys grabbed it, it definitely would have come off. 100%.
Well, I meant her, like, whenever it slams down, her losing her grip.
Oh,
and
that,
falling
yeah.
underwater.
Yeah. I could easily see that happening to anyone. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I thought you meant the main doctor lady, not blonde marine biologist chick.
Nope.
We're awful with names, guys. We don't remember any of the names.
Yep. We just talk about their distinguishing characteristics.
That is her identifier.
Yep.
Blonde marine biologist chick.
But, so, are you ready
now,
for... Oh.
This is both entertainment and realism that I have an issue with.
Okay.
The sharks maneuvering in the facility itself is BS. Those are big sharks. There ain't no way they're able to maneuver that well in the hallways and turn around. Because they change direction a lot.
Yeah.
And they disappear somehow, magically. I don't know how they got their collisions turned off, but they're just able to maneuver around the whole facility with ease. And I call BS. But I call BS on this whole movie anyway.
Yep.
So. Now,
you ready?
The last thing for entertainment,
okay,
which is also slightly part of realism, is when they get 4 people to close a door with water flooding in. It takes 4 of them to close that steel door. And later in the shaft, it only takes 2 men.
Consistency. Yeah.
The consistency was just off all throughout the movie, but that was one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
So, now we can move to realism.
Okay.
You are free to move about the realism scale.
Like, we need our timer back.
I know.
I need to, like, buy, like, a timer, like, that we can have in the background. But anyways.
Yeah.
So, for realism, I'm going to steal your score and give it a 3. Because I do feel like that makes the most.
We talk about the scales beforehand, guys.
Yes, we write notes because I don't know if you guys listen to our older episodes, but we used to be like, let's watch the movie and immediately start talking about it. And it was just way more chaotic and took a lot of editing and a lot of ums. And to be fair, is like my filler and I'm working on that, but I feel like it's
fillers that we work on.
But I feel like whenever we have structure, it's not quite as bad.
It helps.
So, yeah.
This really does punch you in the face with turmeric.
Yeah. Like if you have sore muscles or...
Oh, man.
Yep. But, so, the biggest downfall of this movie is in the very beginning, whenever the doctor's in a meeting and they're essentially, I forgot... The people that are funding her, they're like, we're going to pull out the funding. And she's like, give me 2 days. I'll give you results. I'm sorry. That's not how science works. Like the mRNA vaccine that we have, that actually was decades of research. And actually, I think...
They're still researching it.
Yes, but if I recall right, I think... the idea of mRNA started about 50 years ago.
I believe it.
So science, unfortunately, is very slow moving. That's why we have answers to a lot of things, but we don't have answers to many more things. It's slow moving. It wouldn't have taken 2 days.
We have a ton more questions than we do answers.
Yeah.
And everything takes multiple tests. They can't just perform one successful test and call it good. It has to be replicated many times and then sent off to other facilities and other people for them to replicate as well, because it could just be the environment that they're in. So, correct, positive testing has to be done across multiple facilities for it to actually be accepted.
And they have to prove that the testings were correct. Like they had enough of a group of people. Like that's a small test. They normally don't consider that. It's like, look at it with a huge grain of salt. Like it can help us lead to bigger studies, but they don't take the results of that as like a thing. Or I mean, it could be like maybe the people behind the study had an agenda, and so it could be biased, and you can easily skew the results that way. So yeah, science is very complicated, but
Yes.
we know our formula to make it, as accurate as it possibly can be. And there's still sometimes is a human element, but
And there's always the random outlying.
yeah, but the
data,
purpose
too.
of science is to try and take as much of the human element out of it as possible. But anyways, 2 days bullshit. And then another thing that bothered me is the way that they structured the sharks was not accurate to how they actually look. So
There was much discussion over this.
yes. So the way that the Mako sharks looked, that was okay. But
It wasn't the greatest, but it was okay.
yes. The size is bullshit, but we can give them that since they had larger brains. They kind of need bigger bodies to accommodate. Otherwise, they'd have huge heads and teeny bodies, and that would not be right. But that would be really funny. That'd be chibi sharks. Like, okay, if you guys like sharks, look up the salmon shark. That is the cutest, chibiest motherfucker. Just like, oh my god, I love that shark. But anyways, like every time, especially the baby ones. Oh, but anyways. But the tiger shark that they showed...
Coloring was all wrong.
Well, it was essentially the body of the Mako shark, and then they slapped a bunch of stripes on it and was like, oh, look
And the
at the
stripes
tiger
were the
shark.
wrong color. The coloring was completely off.
Yeah, the tiger sharks have flatter snouts. And just, yeah, nope.
And most of the time, from what I understand, their stripes kind of fade as they get older. They're more prevalent in the juveniles. So, no.
Yeah. And then another thing is, I'm sure you guys have heard this too. The myth that it's just like the myth that we only use 10% of our brain. It's the myth that sharks don't get cancer.
Yeah.
And I looked it up and confirmed that yes, sharks do get cancer. And apparently, scientists have known this for 150 years. So I don't know the origin of this myth, but we've known for over a century that sharks get cancer. So sorry.
But movies got a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's just like the movie that Scarlett Johansson is in is like, oh, we only use 10% of our brain. And it's like she unlocks the rest of her brain and just...
I forget what the name is, but yeah.
Hollywood perpetuates a lot of myths. And actually, I've heard that some myths have started from Hollywood, interestingly enough. But anyways, that's a conversation for another day. But I did know about them attacking the cameras, but I'll leave that more to you because I know you have probably more to say. But I did look up the doctor made a comment whenever they first figure out that the sharks are genetically altered, which they mentioned before, so kind of weird that's a surprise. But she said that she broke the Harvard compact. And I looked it up, and there actually is a Harvard genetics compact, and one of the violations is messing with the brain size. So I thought that was kind of an interesting point of realism that they added.
One of the few that they put in.
Yes. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. So I got the same as 3, since you stole my rating. I convinced you of it earlier. So the biggest issue that I have with it is that as a marine biologist, Blondie didn't think once about 1, the Harvard Compact, and 2, that they would be smarter if they increased the brain size. Like, she clearly knew about them increasing the size of the brain of the sharks because she mentioned it on the tour that she gave to Samuel L. Jackson. So She knew about it.
Yeah.
But she didn't think once, oh, wait, that would make them smarter. Or, oh, hey, this is against the Harvard Compact. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Couldn't just get more sharks. No. Have to make the brain bigger.
Well, and then you would think, it's like, I know they're like, oh, sharks don't get cancer, but sharks have so many relatives.
Yeah.
That, like, the rays. Like, they're... So you'd think that they would search other varieties of animals to see if they can get more proteins.
You would think.
Gotta be sharks.
But shark. And again, movie's got a movie. Not many people are gonna go see a movie about stingrays that get ticked
Oh my god,
off.
could you imagine?
That would be hilarious.
To like wrap their
I'm sure there's a
fleshy
sci-fi
wings
movie
around people and just like squeeze them to death.
I'm sure there is a sci-fi
Hug
movie
me.
somewhere out there about stingrays. 100%.
Though I guess they would use their barb to stab people.
Oh yeah, but they'd probably wrap around them to hug them first,
and then stab them in the chest in the front.
Yeah, just to hold them first. Yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. I'd watch a movie like that.
Bite and hold, and then stab. Yeah.
How do you say their mouths look so weird?
They're kind of cute though.
Yeah, they are kind of cute.
They're kind of cute.
They're slimy though.
So. Not really. Have you pet one?
Yeah, they're slimy. They're smooth.
Might have been their slime coat. I wonder if they were stressed.
I've touched several from several different places and they all felt the same.
Okay.
But maybe my definition of slimy and your definition
they're typically smooth.
It's not like a slug, but it's very smooth.
Yeah.
Very smooth.
Very. They don't have scales like a typical fish. They have skin.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny since sharks have like the rough or like sandpaper like skin.
They do have tiny scales. So it is skin but made of tiny scales.
Yeah, they
Very
look like
rough
teeth
scales.
themselves.
They do.
Scales.
Yeah, those scales do look like teeth, and that's why if they graze you, you do get an abrasion because they just cut the crap out of your leg.
I would imagine it probably depends on the size of the shark too.
It can, but those scales are what help it become more aquadynamic.
Almost like grip the water.
Yeah. It allows the water to pass by a lot easier. So they just glide through the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of weird how the scales work and it's really cool, but I can geek out over that another time. So, with the facility itself, I can kind of understand them attacking the fences or the cage-like pathways that they have underwater when the guy is in there. They're testing the areas and there's a guy there. Food.
Nom.
Also territory. So I can understand that. That makes sense. And when they back away, but if they leave the area when he pulls out a gun, that makes sense as well. They know what that has done. They remember that. They know it's a bad thing, and they know to get away. Those make sense. When they start attacking cameras that have not moved and have not done anything to them, they don't know what it does or what it's for. There's no reason for them to attack the cameras except movie.
Yeah.
No reason at all. And when the guy says the sharks were using them to flood the facility to bring it down, I'm sorry, sharks don't understand structural engineering. That's not how any of this works.
Yeah, it's like even...
They were trying for nom-noms.
Well, it's like even if they were smart, they wouldn't know water displacement because they're in the ocean. Like, you can't experiment with that. Like, crows and ravens, like, the whole reason why they know water displacement is they have lived it and, experimented with it. Like, they understand, but it's the ocean. They wouldn't know.
No. They have no experience with it. They don't know anything about it. It doesn't make sense for them to think that way.
Yeah.
Even with their enhancements. You can't just explain it away that they're genetically modified.
Yeah, it's like you don't magically gain knowledge even though you're smarter.
You're not omniscient just because you were enhanced. That's not how this works. So, no. There's also in the scene where they're using the protein on the neurons to see if it works. Samuel L. Jackson is standing behind and a little to the side of the screen. And he acts, he's a very good actor, he acts as if he can see the screen and what's happening on it. But there's no possible way from that angle that he can see what the hell is going on.
Well, I also I wasn't paying attention too much, but I wonder if he was just like listening to what they were saying. No, there was time that he was reacting.
There were times when he was reacting to the images on the screen when they weren't saying anything.
Ouch, movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's not how screens work. You can't see through the thing to see the image. That's not a thing. I also wonder why they even thought for an instant when the shark was ramming a steel door and it was shaking on its hinges and almost buckling, why they were thinking it could possibly be another survivor, and asked, "Is it Preach?" Right before one of the bolts comes free.
I thought it was the lab equipment. Though I think she's more like hoping it was. Like, it can't be a shark, right?
I could understand them hoping it's the lab equipment, but it was too regular.
Yeah.
Of a thud, and way too heavy of a thud at a regular interval. That was clearly ramming. No. But the scene with the oven too, the one that you keep forgetting about. She asked about it like 3 times, guys, while we were watching the movie. So Preach gets stuck in the oven. He gets in there initially to get away from the shark, and the shark keeps ramming the oven and ends up inadvertently turning the oven on. It is a gas oven, so the gas starts going, and of course it's difficult for him to breathe, and he's trying to find a way to get out of the oven. He has in his possession a fire axe, which is metal, and he is in a metal oven with gas flooding in. So you want to tell me that in his hacking away to get to the top oven, that he doesn't hit some kind of line, some kind of gas line, or any other kind of electronics, or even just make the sparks himself with his metal axe on the metal oven for it to explode? Not a single spark. No. That's not how any of that works. And I severely doubt it would just be like one sheet of metal between the ovens as well. That's not how ovens do.
Yeah, that'd be really thin.
Extremely thin.
And then plus what would the heating element be?
Exactly.
Yeah. Normally it's at the bottom and at the top.
All kinds of lines and all kinds of other things in between, because it's got to be insulated as well so it doesn't affect the walls and everything around it.
Yeah. Or even like if you're cooking 2 different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, not how ovens do. Their management of the sharks themselves was terrible and very ill-advised, and not how protocols are in place for. They used one strap on the shark when they were getting the protein, whether they thought it was knocked out or not. They would not be using a single strap in the middle of a shark's body when it has been genetically modified and is much bigger than it should be.
Yeah. It's like at least strap down the mouth. It's like the tail is really powerful and can easily hurt someone anyway. So it's like
you need at least 3.
Yeah.
At least 3 to be safe. So they just...
That's
They
Poor
laughed
planning.
in the face of safety protocols all throughout the movie, which I guess is just par for the course, but it was just bad. It was just bad. But for the shaft itself, for everything to start flooding, I mean, with the serial killer vibe and everything, when they threw the gurney at the glass, that glass, did you see how thick it was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
That
like,
single gurney would not have broken it. It wouldn't have even cracked it. It would have scuffed it. And he would have gone splat. 100%. He would have gone splat.
yeah, I feel like I can't have a say in it because I'm not an expert in glass.
Mm-mm. No, glass that thick, there is no way in hell it would have cracked. Now, once a crack does occur, that was fairly accurate, that it shatters pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
But it would not have cracked.
It
No.
also depends on because
Especially with the dude still being alive.
Oh, well, and then going to the thing that I thought of before for the realism too is you said that was built in World War II.
Yeah.
How did it have all of those setups that would accommodate technology and then not only like having the thing that goes to the bottom and rise it without them like
Yeah, they said they modified it. They said the initial structure was built in World War II.
Okay.
But once they mothballed it, they said they modified it and put in the underwater labs and
cheaters.
yeah, they said it. They did. They did explain that one.
Okay.
They just did it poorly.
But talking about the glass though, like if anyone who has experience with their car windshield, there's actually 2 layers of glass with a clear layer in between. It's like an adhesive. But anyways, it essentially makes the glass stronger. And I would imagine for that type of facility where glass breaking would be very dangerous, that they would have like a double layer at least.
Possibly, but if you think about like aquariums, those are typically just a really insanely thick piece of glass. So it depends. Now, if they were smart, they would have put the layers in there and had multiple sheets of glass. But these are people that made sharks' brains 5 times bigger. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it also probably would have been actually more expensive to have the layers in between.
I don't know. It's like now I'm wondering like which is stronger to literally have a huge piece of, because it's like on the one hand I could picture the thicker piece being stronger, but then on the other hand it is a huge weak point to where if it gets cracked, all of it's gonna.
It is. It would have been better, I would think logically, to have multiple sheets because if the top one cracks, it's almost like a screen protector.
Yeah.
For your phone. If the top part cracks, the screen protector, it's done its job typically and the screen itself is intact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, after a certain point, the rest of it goes just because of the pressure is too great. But you would have at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 layers, depending on how thick the layers are, of protection before the whole thing shatters. At the very least, I feel like it would have given them time to get to a safer area before it went.
Yeah. Though the glass cracking is really what kind of forced, or the water coming in is really what forced them to move, because otherwise they're like, oh, let's just stand here and look at the glass.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't make sense to me either. The fact that they were all staring, I get that a couple of them would have been in shock, but I'm sorry. I see glass cracking and we're that close to the bottom of the ocean with sharks right outside of that glass. My butt is gone. Soon as there is a crack in the glass, as soon as that gurney hit and that tiny little webbing occurred, nah, I'm halfway up to the next floor by then. Nope. Bye, guys. See you at the top. No, thank you.
But, well, I don't really have anything else.
Nope.
Okay.
No, that's all I got for this one. But this is the last week of Shark Week, so
Yeah.
officially.
Until next year.
It'll be fine. I mean, we can, if you guys have requests for other shark movies, we can always do those as well at any point in time in the year. So
there is one shark movie that will be coming later.
yes. I know. But don't forget to make those recommendations as well. And since this is the final week of the month, we are having a live stream this coming Saturday, and this one will be Maneater. So we'll have one last bash of sharks. And I will be behind the wheel on this one.
Yes.
And Alyssa gets to be the peanut gallery. So this one will be very interesting and very different. So don't forget to join us then. Plus, I mean, it's the shark. We're eating people, so I guess technically we're considered the bad guys, so we're the villain.
Yeah.
So don't forget to join us at 7 p.m. on Saturday at Twitch or YouTube, whichever you prefer. Both will be streaming, so join us Saturday for it, for some Maneater.
Yeah.
And again, any other movies you guys have that you want us to watch and review, please let us know in the comments or send us a message or an email, whichever you prefer. We do also have some merch on a Teespring. We will have the link in the description below. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nope.
Now that I've plugged all the things.
Nope.
Like, comment, subscribe, share,
Yes.
as usual. And until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy. Bye!